record so everybody gets a copy of this. And I'm going to welcome Jenny Pearson with Maryland Relay on the screen here. Jenny, the month has flown by really quickly, and again, thank you for your support. But I've really learned a lot with this, with the Deaf History Month tidbits that you've been sharing with us. But before you hit me with another trivia item that I can impress all my friends with, the for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about Jenny, and let's get to know you, and then we'll dive into Maryland Relay and the partner program.
Sure. First, thanks, Steve, for giving us this opportunity this month. It's really been fantastic. And for those of you that really want a great sponsorship opportunity, I highly recommend this. This has been a great experience this month, being able to share all of the resources that we can provide. As Steve said, I am Jenny Pearson. I am an outreach coordinator with Maryland Relay. I hold a degree from Towson University in Deaf Studies. I am conversational in American Sign Language, but really my career started in working within the deaf community. And as such, I became really excited about the idea of bridging that community with essentially the rest of the world. And so through that, I became more involved in working with individuals who are hard of hearing, particularly senior citizens. It's such a prevalent thing. And so that's why my passion right now is to bridge that gap between individuals who are struggling with a hearing loss and to get them the resources that they can use to make life a little easier.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so we're gonna learn about the partner program today, which is a great way for us that are in business and marketing to reach out to an exclusive, pretty much untapped market. I mean, Maryland Relay is sort of your gatekeeper to this audience. But before we dive into that, so you mentioned American Sign Language. I never dawned on me the American Sign Language meant that there was that it's not a universal language all over the world, which I really found to be interesting. But what's some other deaf history tidbits that you can share with us before we learn about the partner program?
Well, there's just so to kick that off. It's such a rich culture and such a wonderful community to be a part of. Maryland has one of the highest populations of deaf Americans in the country because of our proximity to Gallaudet University, and as well as having some of the top-notch schools for the deaf in the country. Not to mention the government has many, many jobs for individuals who are hard of hearing or who are deaf. So you'll find that there's a lot of folks in our use American Sign Language. Like you said, American Sign Language is not universal. Other countries have different forms. American Sign Language is actually based on French Sign Language. And so that grammatically, it's much closer to the French language than it is to English, which is an important thing to keep in mind when you are communicating with someone who is deaf. What you're saying may not necessarily come right because of the way that your word order is, which is something we'll talk about during the presentation as to why it's important to understand what relay is and how we can help with that. As you said, March is Deaf History Month. It actually begins on March 14th or 13th or 14th. I can't remember off the top of my head, but that was the date in 1988 where the Gallaudet students at the Deaf University in Washington, D.C. decided that they did not want to have a hearing president. They wanted a deaf president. So they kind of held protests, and finally I. King Jordan is the first deaf president of Gallaudet University. And so it really brought to light to the nation what it means to be deaf and how inclusive that can be.
Hey, yeah, and I think you had mentioned that a few weeks ago, but out of curiosity, since then, has every president of Gallaudet been deaf, or have they gone from, and how do you refer to like when you're talking about somebody who's deaf, how do you refer to somebody who has hearing? Like what is the proper way to refer to that?
Great question. As far as the president's sense, then I'm not sure. I'm going to say that probably yes, considering the protests that happened
Yeah.
and how important that is to have a president that understands the culture. And it's a great question about references. Individuals in the deaf community, they prefer to be referred to as deaf with a capital D. That is something that's important to them. It is who they are, and it's a cultural thing. One fun cultural point to make is when two people are speaking English together, it's considered very rude for someone to walk through the middle of their conversation. That's not so with the deaf folks. They are just continuing to sign. It's really interesting to watch two people sign from across the room. It's interesting to watch people sign between glass. So, I could be standing at my front door and signing to my husband who's in the front yard through the glass door, and he could sign right back if he knew sign, which he doesn't. He knows a few words, but but yeah. So it's interesting how they prefer the title of deaf.
Huh. Okay. And now, like, I'm glad that you brought that to my attention because I wasn't aware of that. So if um, let's say that is there sort of varying levels of being deaf, and so would somebody, so for example, I'm blind in one eye, okay, but I don't generally refer to, I'm not a part of the blind community, so I don't really, nobody would know that I'm blind in one eye. And so I think that's one of the interesting things with hearing loss is that it is a disability. Like actually, somebody who has vision loss, you can see their glasses. Somebody who has hearing loss, there's nothing that identifies them as somebody who has a disability. But uh, and I guess what I'm getting at is that somebody who just has some low, less, some hearing loss, do they want to be referred to as being deaf as well?
It really depends on their personal preference. Myself, I have a mild hearing loss that was noise induced and self inflicted growing up. And
Rock
I
and
don't can.
roll.
Yeah, right. I don't consider myself hard of hearing, but I do notice that there are times when I'm on the telephone that I have to have someone repeat themselves because they may have a very high frequency voice and it may not register with me. And so there are obviously, as with vision loss, there is varying degrees. There are individuals who are late deafened, so individuals who grew up hearing but lost their hearing maybe because of age or illness or something like that. And those folks typically use their voices to speak, but they can't hear what you're saying. So there are different ways to be able to communicate with those folks. And then, there are folks who grew up in a residential deaf school that consider themselves culturally deaf.
Mhm.
And it's that, so it's various ranges of how
All
you would
right.
determine that.
Well, it's definitely like everything. I mean, language is so important, and you've really opened my eyes and my ears to a better way of communicating here. So let's dive into learning about this Maryland Relay Partner Program, and I'll sort of duck behind the screen if you wanted to share a PowerPoint. But I just also want to remind our audience that if at any point you have a question, type it in and we'll get to it. And then when we kind of open up the discussion, if you want to raise your virtual hand, you can ask your question in an audio format. And so if you want to share your screen there, we can learn more about this program.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay. Hang on 1 second.
There we go.
Alrighty.
And then, yeah,
Okay.
looks good. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Maryland Relay Partner Program and how it can benefit your business or the services that you provide. So I want to start by talking about a little bit about what we're going to be discussing today. So what is TAM? We'll learn all about that and how does that implicate, or how does that incorporate Maryland Relay, who's using Maryland Relay, how it works, some of the calling options that you may come into connection with while you're a Relay partner, some communication tips for when you're using Relay. We're going to talk a little bit about the MAT program, which is our equipment program, and how being a Maryland Relay partner will benefit your business. And actually, before we get started on that, I did want to preface this to keep in mind that as we're going through this information, you may be receiving calls from people who are using Maryland Relay to connect with you. They may want your services or your products. And if you're the person answering the phone at your business is not familiar with a Maryland Relay call, they may be hanging up on the callers because they think it may be a scam call or there's an operator involved, so they don't want to get into it. Or they may be familiar with a relay call and understand that it may take a little bit longer to have that call connected and completed. So they may just not want to have to deal with that. And we're going to talk a little bit about why it's important for that to not happen. So what is TAM? TAM is Telecommunications Access of Maryland, and it's a state agency within the Maryland Department of Disabilities. As of July of last year, we've been incorporated into MDOD. We had been previously involved with the Maryland Department of Information Technology. TAM provides assistive services and equipment for Marylanders who have difficulty using a telephone. We have two entities within TAM, Maryland Relay and the Maryland Accessible Telecommunications Program. So Maryland Relay is it's a free public service that allows individuals who are unable to use a standard telephone to make and receive calls. Your business should be familiar, obviously, to make sure that those individuals who use Maryland Relay can feel confident that they can call you to ask questions about your business and to perhaps purchase some services or some products. So who would use Maryland Relay? Obviously, individuals who are deaf who may be using a TTY through our services, individuals who are hard of hearing, folks who are late deafened, including seniors and veterans, folks who are deafblind, individuals who have difficulty speaking, or individuals who may have mobility limitations. So this would be how a Maryland Relay call works. The relay caller will call using their assistive device, and the operator, if need be, will speak or type what is being said between you and the relay caller. Once you have finished your point, you would say, "Go ahead." There's a little bit of a cadence that happens when you're speaking with another person. You typically, you're supposed to wait until the individual has finished what they're saying. It doesn't always happen that way, but and so once they're finished with their point, now you know it's your turn, but you wouldn't necessarily know that on a phone. So with that, you would say, "Go ahead" when you're ready to hear the response. The conversation continues back and forth just like that. And then once the conversation is complete, you would say SK or stop keying when they are ready to hang up or end the call. And that comes from when the TTY was the most prevalent way that Maryland Relay was connecting calls. Stop keying would be to stop typing on your teletext typewriter. So Maryland Relay operators, it's important to know that they facilitate all calls according to Federal Communication Commission and state of Maryland regulations. They are following the user's preference, not the individual on the other line. They do not engage in personal conversation. So even if you try to engage an operator, they're not going to respond at all. And they will keep all information confidential. So you can feel confident that you can conduct your business over the telephone and it stays within that conversation. So some of the calling options that we have available, obviously text telephone or the TTY. Many people are familiar with that device, but that's not all we offer. We offer hearing carryover, speech-to-speech services, voice carryover, remote conference captioning, caption telephone, and also Spanish relay. All of these services are available 24/7, 365, and you can access this service by dialing 711. So if you were going to reach out to a customer who you know is using speech to speech, you can dial 711 and the operator will facilitate the call for you. You do not need to have specialized equipment to be able to make and receive phone calls. So this would be how the text telephone works. The relay user and the other person are communicating back and forth with the assistance of a relay operator. The deaf individual is typing what they want to say into their TTY, which goes to the relay operator who reads that to the other person. The other person then voices their response. The relay operator types that response into their TTY, which shows up as text for the deaf individual to read. So hearing carryover is designed for those individuals who have difficulty speaking. As you can see there, Uncle John is addressing Ryan, and Ryan is hearing him and says, "Oh, hi, it's good to hear from you. What's up with you?" The relay operator is listening to that side of the conversation, who is typing that into the device where Ryan can see. Speech-to-speech services are designed for individuals who have difficulty speaking or being understood. The relay user and the other person, they are both hearing and speaking at the same time. The role of the operator in this type of call is to revoice what the speech-to-speech user says to the other person when necessary. The relay user will define with the relay operator prior to the call being connected how often the relay operator will step in. Some relay users prefer just the relay operator's voice to be heard. Others only want the relay operator's assistance once they start to struggle. Visually assisted speech-to-speech is another option for individuals who have difficulty speaking. What would be required is a telephone connection, a computer and a webcam, high-speed internet, and a Skype account. How this works is that the individual is connected to the operator through a Skype account. The operator is able to see the other individual, so they can voice a nod of the head or a shake of the head. They can voice if someone is writing on a whiteboard. So that is very helpful for individuals who struggle with speech. And so this is a caption telephone. You'll see that the device looks like a standard telephone with one giant difference, and that's the screen. So basically what you're seeing there on the screen are captions of what the other person is saying to you as you're having the conversation. It allows you to read and listen to the captions at the same time. Many people who use this device don't necessarily rely exclusively on the captions. If they miss something, they can go back to the screen and see what they've missed rather than asking for someone to repeat themselves. And here's how that works. The caption telephone user and the standard telephone user are communicating back and forth, just like a typical conversation on the phone. Everything that is spoken by the standard telephone user is being heard by the caption telephone operator, who is revoicing what is being said into the system that generates captions, which is a voice recognition software. That software generates the captions for the individual to read on the display of the caption telephone. So what would be the benefits of caption telephone? Obviously, clearer understanding of what is being said on every call. It also provides for greater independence. Oftentimes, when an individual struggles to use a telephone or another device, they don't use it. They ask for other folks to use the phone on their behalf, or they just simply stop answering the phone and they don't make telephone calls. So with this product, the individual will be able to make their own calls and feel confident that they're understanding every word that's being said. And the best part of all, that this is a free service. Our newest service that we are providing came by at a very opportune time during the pandemic. Obviously, we're all meeting via Zoom these days. We're all talking via video conferencing. That's how we're meeting. But that can be really difficult if you have a hearing loss to understand what people are saying, particularly when there are multiple participants. How it works is that the RCC user receives a link to view the captions. The operator who is doing the captioning is connecting through a call bridge or a similar method. The operator is listening to everything that's being said and is captioning every word. And then when the call is completed, the RCC user can actually save that conversation to print so that they can review it in the future. We also have Spanish to Spanish or Spanish to English relay services. How that would work is you would dial 711 or the direct access number that's there on the screen to initiate a call with a Spanish-speaking Maryland relay operator. They can be placed anywhere in the US, including Puerto Rico and the US Virgin Islands. There are also internet relay services that are actually not provided by Maryland Relay, but you want to be familiar with these as well because they will probably be calling your business as well. A video relay service would be an instance where an individual who is using American Sign Language would like to make a telephone call. So they connect with a video relay service, an operator, interpreter will show up on their screen. And what that does is basically it's like an interpreting situation, but over the telephone. The deaf person will sign to the relay service operator or the interpreter. That interpreter will voice what the individual is saying. You will respond with your voice. The relay operator will sign what you're saying, and that's how the communication happens back and forth. It's important to note that when you're receiving a video relay service call, it's important to know that the individual that you're speaking to is not the individual who's making the call. That is the person who is signing. So you may have a situation where Steve's calling you, but Steve has a female voice, and that's because the operator is female and Steve is obviously male. We also have text-based internet relay, which is IP relay. So the IP caption telephone service also will work with the PC or Mac, smartphones, and tablets. So you can access caption telephone service and have one of these devices. Some great communication tips when you're working with someone who's using a relay operator to make their calls. Talk to the relay user directly, not to the operators. Like I said before, the person you're speaking with is not the person necessarily that is making the call. Listen for cues that let you know when it is your turn to speak. Make sure that you get their phone number so that if the call is interrupted or if you have to call them back, you'll have their number so that you can dial 711 to reach them again. Definitely be patient. Sometimes these calls can take a long time, particularly with individuals who are using speech to speech. In that situation, it can take a moment for that individual to be able to voice what they're trying to say. So be patient. And you can request to change operators if you're having trouble understanding what's said during the call. Now we're going to talk about the Maryland Accessible Telecommunications Equipment Distribution Program. Basically, what this does is it provides assistive telecommunication devices to qualified Marylanders. You see there on the table, there's a whole lot of different types of telephones, electronic equipment, even tablets. And so this is just a fraction of the type of equipment that we can provide to individuals. So with this program, we provide free evaluations for individuals who qualify for the program, because it's difficult sometimes to understand what's out there for you. You know what it's like when you order something from Amazon and it shows up and it's not exactly what you thought it was going to be. So now you have to go through the aggravation of returning it, that sort of thing. You won't have that problem with our equipment program. Basically, you will sit down with an evaluator and discuss what your preferences are, what your needs are, and they will match you with the phone that's going to work best for you. Clients of the MAT program can take advantage of this, but even individuals that want to purchase their own phone, but they just don't know which phone to get, and certainly get a free evaluation. Individuals that qualify for this program would be residents of Maryland who are older than 3, that are maybe on a limited income or receiving a benefit like Social Security, SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits, as well as individuals who are certified as having difficulty using a standard telephone. If the equipment requires it, that individual would also need telephone service. So should your organization decide to become a Maryland Relay partner, this is a great way to incorporate what you've learned into your business or organization model. Make it the partner training a part of new employee orientation, or offer refresher courses for individuals who've already taken the training. Our services, they change and they're constantly evolving. And so it's great to have a refresher every now and then. You'll be able to answer questions from your customers who inquire about your status of Maryland Relay partners. So if somebody asks, well, what does that mean? You can proudly say, well, we have been trained to be able to make and receive telephone calls for individuals that use Maryland Relay to make calls. And so that's exciting. You can also spread the word about Maryland Relay services to friends, acquaintances, business associates, so that it's an equal playing field for individuals who are using Maryland Relay to be able to call up a car dealership and to be able to inquire about prices and services. Any kind of business whatsoever can really benefit from the Maryland Relay Partner Training. So once you receive the training, you will receive a window decal if you have a storefront, so that you can say, we are a proud Maryland Relay partner. You'll also be listed on our website that shows that you are looks like my internet's wonky. Sorry about that, folks. It shows your business is a Maryland Relay partner, and it will give your contact information. Often when individuals use Maryland Relay to make and receive phone calls, they go to our website first to see if there's a business that they're looking into that is on our website. So your business would be a preferred business. You would also receive free ongoing promotion of your business and all Maryland Relay partner businesses by Maryland Relay to its users. To note, as part of the relay training, our outreach coordinators will be making test calls to your business so that you can basically make sure that your staff know what they're doing. So thank you for joining me today for this presentation. I'm hoping that you will consider becoming a Maryland Relay partner. You'll see on your screen there myself, along with 2 other beautiful women, Tarita Turner and Rebecca Miller, who are also on this conference call today, and their contact information is there. We're happy to help in Maryland Relay and how you can be a part of this journey.
That was great. Jenny, did we lose you?
Am I still here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you are. I'm getting signals that your internet connection is a little slow, but
yeah.
Let's see. It looks like Ellen Pincus has her hand raised, and this is always interesting to see if that was by mistake or if Ellen has a question. But Ellen, I'm prompting you to unmute yourself if you indeed have a question. Oh, and Ada is can you show the last slides with the contacts at Relay? Actually, probably the best thing to do is, Jenny, can you just cut and paste the contact info into chat there?
Yes,
Jenny,
absolutely.
can you?
Rebecca and Tarita, if you could put your information into the chat as well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hello?
No, that's great. Okay. Yep. Can you hear me?
Okay, great.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Tarita. She's going to, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so let's see. Ellen is not unmuting herself. So
Hello?
Ellen Pink is.
Good,
You're-
okay.
Um, okay, Jenny, can you hear me? Or are we having
Yes,
you know what?
I can hear
Turn
you.
off,
Can you hear me?
yeah, turn off your screen, like turn off your camera, because I think your video is lagging, and then that way, maybe with an audio, you're better. Okay. Can you hear me, Jenny? No?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I can
All
hear
right.
you.
So we got a question from Ellen Davis who says, what are the exact steps to being a Maryland Relay partner? I think, yeah, you provided a lot of content to us, but if you can just kind of walk through the steps of what a company needs to do to become a partner.
Absolutely. I'm hoping you can hear me at this point.
We can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so great. Okay, so basically what you would want to do is visit our website at www.mdrelay.org. There is information available on that website for you to be able to sign up to inquire more about a relay partner training. And we would be happy to have one of our outreach coordinators, myself, Tarita, or Rebecca, reach out to you to talk about the training, and we'll get you set up.
Okay. Oh yeah, right here. So I'm actually going to just cut and paste this link right into chat. And as Jenny had mentioned, you can get there by marylandrelay.org, but I just put the direct link in, and it's as easy as just filling out a form that shares with them what type of business you're in, and then you're in. And there's no cost to this program, correct?
That's correct. There's no cost to it at all.
Yeah. So it looks to me like it's probably going to be about 5 minutes of time. And if you sign your organization up and you get, have one good connection that comes out of this, it's going to be well worth it. So that's great. Now, just out of curiosity, like, can you say like how many people are in your community? Is there, do you have any sort of metrics on that?
We really don't have the total numbers of how many individuals are making relay calls on hand, but I can tell you it's a lot, particularly individuals who are using video relay services, folks who are using caption telephone. A good tip to understand also with caption telephone is that it does take the captions a few seconds to appear. So if the individual doesn't answer you straight away, that would be a good indicator that someone is using a caption telephone. I meant to mention that earlier, but yeah, we really don't have a lot of but a lot of people are using this service, and this is a service that is available in every state. Every state has their own relay service.
Great. So now are there partner programs or is this unique to Maryland Relay, or does Virginia and DC and Pennsylvania, do they have similar partner programs?
I know as far as this area is concerned that Virginia Relay, DC Relay, and Pennsylvania Relay all have relay partner programs. You would have to, if you're coming from another state, you would want to look up your state.
You know, Jenny, you're definitely popping in and out. We lost you there. Okay. I'm hoping that you pop back on. If you don't, we will we'll cut the call short. But can you hear me? Ooh, Jenny has dropped off the call, folks. Okay, so this might be, if she pops back on again, but this might be a good opportunity to just kind of wrap this up. I thought she gave a really good overview. I know a lot of you have connected with her. And Hilda, I've got your question here. I'm actually going to send that to Jenny so she can reply to your question, which is, what does the partnership between Relay and a public organization actually do? Can the public organization contact Relay whenever a deaf client asks for reasonable accommodations, and Relay will provide the caption and other services to clients' needs? I believe they will do that because Maryland Relay is a free service to all Maryland residents. So one of the benefits of the Relay partnership is just an awareness that Maryland Relay is out there, so that if you had a customer come into your circle who was deaf or hard of hearing, that it's sort of like, are you familiar with Maryland Relay? Hey, we want to hook you up with them. But I think actually the heart of this program, the Maryland Relay program, is sort of putting providers on a list of trusted providers, so that when hard of hearing and deaf residents have a need, that they have a list that they're referring to, so that, like, if they're calling up a home care agency that's familiar with Maryland Relay, there's less of a chance that somebody's going to hang up on them with the pause that that Jenny just referred to. And then Adrian says, if I were assisting someone whose speech was affected by a stroke, for example, with accessing services, I would have them call 711. So yeah, okay. All right, guys, it looks like Jenny may be down and out. And so what I'm gonna do is kind of wrap this discussion up. Oh, you're back.
I'm on here, but on the phone.
Oh, okay. Well, here, let's, I'm glad you're back. Let me just recap the two questions that came in when you jumped off a little bit. The first is from Hilda, who says, what does the partnership between Relay and a public organization exactly do? Can the public organization contact Relay whenever a deaf client asks for reasonable accommodations, and Relay will provide the caption and other services to the client's needs?
That's a great question, and it's one that we get asked often. What I would say is that if the individual needs telecommunications assistance, they will use Maryland Relay to do so. If you're talking about securing an interpreter for a meeting, that is not something that Maryland Relay can provide, although we can suggest where to turn for that information. So as far as someone who is deaf that is looking for, you know, a solution to be able to make and receive phone calls, I would definitely recommend that they contact us, and we can get them set up with any kind of equipment that they might need.
Great. And then our second question, and it was a comment too, is from Adrian, who says, if I were assisting somebody whose speech is affected by stroke, for example, with accessing services, I would just have them call 711. Maybe you can tell us what 711 is.
Okay, well, 711 is actually set up for individuals who are trying to reach out to an individual who uses Maryland Relay. So, for example, if you're working with someone who has difficulty with speech and you wanted to give them a call, you would dial 711 and their telephone number, and the operator would facilitate that call. The individual that is using a specialized device will give you their phone number. So, for example, someone who's using a caption telephone, you wouldn't need to dial 711. They have a telephone number and it'll ring directly to their caption phone. However, the other services, if you'd like to reach out to someone who's using a Maryland Relay service, then you would dial 711. The individual who is reaching out to you will have already dialed 711 if need be.
Great. And let's see here. Oh, Adrian, let me see if Adrian Robinson, Adrian, if your hand was raised. Oh, Adrian, can you hear me? Did you have a question, Adrian? Okay, maybe not. All right. Well, oh, let's see. Hilda has a question. I love this. It's sort of like, I was like, okay, I'm going to wrap up. And then another question comes in. Hilda says, how is Hamilton CapTel Company related to Relay? I know someone who tried to register with Relay and ended up filling in information for Hamilton CapTel.
Okay, that's another great question. Hamilton Relay is actually the provider of relay services in Maryland. So we provide the relay services and that sort of thing. Hamilton CapTel is an actual device that is provided by Hamilton CapTel. So that basically would be similar to your caption call telephone or your clear caption telephone. But they're really, it is one of the devices that we provide through our service if it's an appropriate device for your needs. So if the individual that you're speaking of is looking for services through Maryland Relay, I would encourage that person to reach out to myself, to Rita, or Rebecca, and we'd be happy to work with that individual to get them set up with us.
Okay, great. All right. Well, Jenny, I know you're excited about this. Is that with the technical difficulties that we've had today, I think we can wrap up our oh boy, let's see. Okay. Hilda says, thank you. And somebody says family members and people hide hearing loss 7 years or more. Oh, really good comment there. Wouldn't you say that hearing loss is one of those disabilities that is oftentimes hidden by the person who has it, and they just sort of pretend that they can hear and participate?
Absolutely. You know, it's one thing when you make that transition from, you know, reading a book and then meeting readers. It's not something that you can easily hide, and it's typically more accepted. You know, that, okay, yeah, I need to get my glasses so I can read this. But hearing is a completely different animal. And there are a lot of individuals who just, they're just not ready to accept that. And it's hard. It's really hard, especially, you know, during these times when you're not meeting with people in person, and it's hard to see someone's face. And, you know, and to be able to see what their lips are doing, particularly with masks. I know I struggle at the grocery store when, you know, the clerk is trying to talk to me and I don't realize that they're necessarily talking to me because they have a mask on. So it's really important, if you know someone that's struggling, let them know about us. It's really entirely up to them if they want to participate, but it may be a little bit easier for them to know that there are resources out there that can help. Because at first they may be a little reluctant, but if it's like hearing losses like mine that are probably going to get worse over time, at some point they're going to say, no, I really do need this assistance. So please keep our information on hand. Great.
All right. Well, I think we can officially wrap this one up. This has been great for everybody. I have recorded this and we'll put it in podcast format, and I'll send that out to everybody so you can share this with your colleagues and your contacts. And Jenny, I want to thank you. And again, let's see. Another question popped in. So this is good. This is great. So thank you. Any guiding information doctors give medical and any guiding information doctors give medical and a person that can't hear, any way to advocate or help require doctors and medical staff to make sure a patient hears them before they agree to treatments and surgery? What are the resources, how to find them? Okay. Oh, another great discussion question is, yeah, that person that is sort of hiding their hearing impairment could be getting instructions or guidance from medical professionals and not really understanding what is being said to them. Any thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, it's a great point. And one resource that I would love to throw out there to folks that want to advocate, that want to bring this to the forefront, would be to reach out to the governor's Office of Deaf and Hard of Hearing. They are the biggest advocates you will ever want to know for individuals who are deaf or who have a hearing loss. And they can give you some really great advice on how to approach situations like that, and how to find resources that might be able to assist with that. Another great resource would be the Maryland Technology Assistance Program. They are also, they're much like us in that we do telecommunications. They do pretty much everything else. So if you need assistive devices and that sort of thing for face-to-face conversation, they would be a great place to start for that.
Great. Okay, I think we took care of them all. So Jenny, maybe we'll see you next Wednesday for our last discussion of the month. Oh, another question. Are you familiar with the new hearing aids that are computers that link to the Apple Watch?
I actually am not, but it is something that I'm really interested in looking into more. I know that all of the devices that we provide for folks who are using hearing aids or cochlear implants are compatible. So it'll be interesting to see if that is also something that's compatible, and to see if that, if the watch is actually providing captioning or how that works. But that's really interesting. And I have heard of it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Great. Okay, well, here we go. Again, thanks so much for today. Thanks so much for your support this month. And we look forward to connecting with you again.
Thanks so much, Steve. It's been a real pleasure. And I apologize for the connection issues. I'm not sure what happened there, but I thank everybody for joining us today, and hope that you will see the benefits of becoming a Relay partner.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate your tenacity, and this is just the way it is. It's like when we used to do live events, our microphones wouldn't work and we'd have to walk around the room, and it was a minor disruption, and compared to the way we used to meet. So thanks a lot.
My pleasure, Steve. Thanks so much.
You bet. Bye.